I went on a self retreat of sorts last week. I returned to my ancestral home and just took some time to rest and to write. And during that time, I actually saw some movies. Yep, it's I can't I'm a it's who I am. I'm a moviegoer. I'm a cinephile. And maybe in some ways the most intriguing movie that I saw this weekend, not intriguing in itself, but intriguing as a phenomenon and for what it represents as a phenomenon, which is what I'm going to talk about here, is the Wayans brothers' new Scary Movie, the return of the Scary Movie franchise. The Wayans did the first two, I think, which came out right around the turn of the century, the turn of the millennium. They spoofed all the current horror movies at the time, Blair Witch Project and the Scream movies and that stuff. And now they're back in 2026 and got blasted by the critics. I mean, just got a terrible review from every critic that I either heard from or read, which wasn't many, but my general sense was that the consensus was that it was really bad, and they really didn't like it, and some of them were bothered by it, and I want to return were bothered by the tone of it, which is what I find interesting and somewhat delicious, and want to return to. The movie very openly, consciously marketed itself as anti-woke. There's scenes with people while a girl is getting stabbed to death, and somebody says, "Oh my God, he stabbed her." Then the girl grows indignant and says, "I'm not a she, I'm they." And so, and there's a lot of moments kind of like that. Now, as far as the whole feel of the movie, the whole looking at the movie as a whole, it's pretty much it pretty closely resembles the earlier scary movies, which is to say, there's a lot of the jokes come fast and furious, and it's not highbrow humor. It's very lowbrow. There's a lot of tasteless jokes in about every way you can imagine tastelessness, and some of it manages to be kind of amusing. Some of it's not as amusing, but I say that not as someone who was offended by it or anything. It was just some things that I thought were funnier than other things, and overall, I didn't think it was as bad as the critics said. I didn't find it drudgery to sit through, but it was kind of on the same level as the earlier scary movie films that I think I've only seen maybe the first two, and then I remember the whole franchise went in this really like there was no quality control whatsoever. I'm not saying the initial couple of movies were like great cinema or anything, but they started making just like every kind of movie. There was teen movie, there was something else, there was this movie, there was that movie, there were comedy movie. I don't know. It just became this thing unto itself, and it was like a cash machine. I think they almost always did well, but it's just the quality got worse and worse until it was like, what's the point? What this all you're doing is showing, actors who look like actors who are in, movies that have been out this past year, but you're not really, there's not really much of a joke here. It's just like, oh yeah, there's somebody who looks like Napoleon Dynamite. Oh, there's somebody who looks like uh, I don't know, so and so from Juno. Uh, oh, there's somebody who looks like somebody from uh, some other movie that came out this past year. And eventually, I guess they just ran out of steam. But um, but I think they were mostly really profitable, which is why they kept making them. They tended to feature not big name actors and not huge budgets, and people like to go see them just because it was I don't know, it was satire of movies. So people who are into movies like to, which used to be mostly young people. I don't know if that's really so much the case anymore. But that would that they would go to these movies just to see the movies that they liked from the past year get quote unquote satirized. Although, as I said, the satire became rather weak. Not that, and again, not to say that there were the early ones were masterpieces of grand satire, but they were far better than what followed. So, what's interesting about this latest movie is that it comes, this many years later, a full more than a quarter century later. It's the same two Wayans brothers guys, and there's the return of the original cast plus a bunch of younger cast members who are various variously related to scary movies that are more often seen today, or that have been around today or in recent years. There are also references to political events like the storming of the Capitol. There's a reference to the guy, whoever the guy was with the who wore that outrageous costume and stormed the Capitol. Anyway, who got pardoned. So there were there's various references to stuff that's going on today. But what's the most interesting through line in the movie is this conflict between the Gen X makers of Scary Movie and the woke phenomenon. And the woke anti woke thing has been done to death. It's not exactly a fresh topic, but there is something interesting about how Scary Movie. It's also called Scary Movie 6 because it's technically the sixth in the series. It refers there are so many references to to woke stuff. There are especially trans stuff or non-binary stuff or pronoun related stuff, and it's all very much making fun of it. And I was going to say not to give away the ending, but there's really nothing to give away. There's not much of a story. It's just a series of there are characters, but it just like with the other movies in the series, it's just a bunch of gags strung together. And what you have in the end is the the four main characters from the first movie, the two Wayans brothers and the two women, the one black girl and the one white girl, who are now like in their late 40s, or maybe early 50s even. They they end up killing everybody else, burning the house down, and walking away. Uh, and it's like um, it's sort of it seemed like a a Gen X revenge moment. Like, enough with these stupid Gen Z, all this Gen Z crap. Enough with all this woke stuff, all these pronouns, and all these bratty girls saying that they're they and not she, and that kind of stuff. And it pretty brazenly, goes there without apology. Uh, and and Yeah, so there's something interesting about that. And at least one of the reviews that I read seemed to be put off by that. Um, and I don't know if the reviewer admitted to being offended, or if it was just sort of like, this is just cheap, cheap efforts at jokes. The bar is lowered. Yeah, the ha ha ha, woke, ha ha ha, making fun of woke stuff. Ha ha ha, very funny. Um, but you kind of got the feeling that there was a little bit of what what is so eloquently referred to as butthurt about that response. And it seems like, I'm guessing that's probably the case with a lot of the critics' responses to this movie, because I really didn't think this movie was as bad, was nearly as bad as what they were saying, as the way the most of the critics were uh, were saying it was. And this film did really, really well. It exceeded expectations. Was number one at the box office. Is on pace to to do uh, as well, if not better, than a couple of the earlier movies in the series did. So not the first one, but the second one and the third one. It's very likely to break the overall box office record. Now, of course, back then, yeah, the dollar is worth more. You kind of have to factor that in. But still, it's already easily made a profit, and in spite of the fact that, that you could frame the movie as Gen Z bashing, or say that it's just Gen Xers, being callous towards the Gen Z concerns. The fact is that most of the audience that's going to see it skews young. Um, so, in other words, Gen Z is the primary audience for this movie, according to what has been tabulated, what they've the polls have, or however it is that they measure this stuff. They have ways of sort of taking representative samples here and there and seeing what the trends are. And the trend for this movie was to have a younger audience, just like with the earlier movies. So it's Gen Z going to see a movie that's making fun of the woke stuff that Gen Z is more likely to be into. Now, of course, there are some Gen Z who are not into the woke stuff. So that's all just an interesting side note. But the fact that this movie did so well and succeeded so, has, gained so much, much more, did so much better than it was expected to, I think is an interesting thing to note. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Thanks for watching.